Sex. It's something teens and adults try to avoid talking about. Oftentimes, their opinions collide and not much of a conclusion is reached besides, do what you will or absolutely not. That's why we're here today, with an adult and a teen to talk about sex among teenagers and where what boundaries lie. Starting with our adult spokesperson, we'll dive right into some of the tougher questions.
When is it a good idea or not?
I guess if they are both emotionally committed and if they're both practicing very, very safe sex, it might be a good idea. But all too often, kids are not mature enough to handle it emotionally, and they're not practicing safe sex. And then someone gets pregnant or someone gets a sexually transmitted disease, and that's really not the way to kick off your teen life.
Are kids acting responsibly?
I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I've kind of buried my head in the sand on this. I'm assuming that kids are, but I really don't know. I don't know how early or casually kids in high school enter into sexual relationships these days.
What are your concerns?
Well, my concerns are sexually transmitted diseases, pregnancy, and people not understanding the emotional impact sex will or will not have on themselves or their partners.
Are kids and parents talking about it enough?
Probably not. I think a lot of parents are just like, I'm assuming that my young boy or my young girl is not doing this. And, all too often parents, I think, hope that the school is educating them properly. And that the kids are understanding kind of what's at stake when you have sex with someone. And I think that, often, Daddy doesn't want to think that his little girl's having sex, so, why even broach that?
What do you wish kids could understand about this that they don't?
That it's not something that you have to do to make a boy like you. That it's that at that age, you're often not ready to have mature conversations about the things you should be having conversations about around sex. And that often leads to teen pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases. So I just think at that age, you're not ready to have those kinds of mature conversations that can really save their lives.
I agree. What do you wish your kids would tell you about this subject?
I wish they would tell me if they're seriously thinking of considering it so that we can really have a conversation about A, what's at stake, B, what you should do to prepare emotionally, physically, logistically, legally.
What do you wish your parents had told you when you were a teenager?
So, my parents didn't tell me anything about sex. Unfortunately, it's the kind of thing you had to learn by reading novels or talking to your friends or your older brother. Frankly, I didn't want to hear that from my dad or my mom. Who does? But, I think parents should go through the basics. Here's how you get pregnant. Here's how you get a sexually transmitted disease. But, it's that kind of basic education really needs to be part of any of these discussions.
What do you think most commonly parents aren't talking about to their teenage kids?
I don't know if they're talking to them about, again, sexually transmitted diseases, emotional maturity, pregnancy, and this idea that, when they say you don't have to have sex with anyone to prove that you like them, that they're not just being old fuddy-duddies. They're saying it because of experience.
What is your message to not just girls, but your message to every teen out there who's just starting to become sexually active and just even starting to consider it? And what do you think is the most important thing that they have to take into consideration?
Don't ever have sex because someone's pressuring you into it and you think that they won't like you if you don't. Do it because you feel like you and this person have gotten to this point where you really feel like you want to take this emotional step, and for God's sake, protect yourself. 1 minute of fun does not have to ruin the rest of your life. Herpes is permanent. Permanent.
Wow, a lot to take in, especially knowing that hindsight is always 20/20, an informative take. Here with the teenage point of view is our next interview.
When is it a good idea or not?
I think it's a good idea when, like, both people are into it and it's, like, something that they're both doing as a choice and they both feel ready. So I just think that, like, both people shouldn't feel like they're doing it out of, like, some other, like, obligation or out of some sort of pressure, but, like, because they want to and they feel ready.
Do you think that there's a lot of situations in which teens end up really losing their virginity or doing something new because they feel like they have to, or they feel like it'll make them look cool?
I mean, I don't know, like, a ton of personal examples of people who have done something that they're super not ready for, but I think I see that at least in the media a lot, and I've seen it with some of my friends, and I do think that there's, like, a ton of pressure put on. You have to be, like, sexually active by, like, this age, or, you know, you're not a normal teenager. So I definitely see that, and I don't know how much that actually plays into people's sex lives, but I think it definitely could.
Are teenagers our age acting responsibly?
I think it's better than it was before. I think that, like, kids know what their options are more. I think that a lot of kids take to educating themselves, talking with their friends about it, and at least in Chicago, we have sex ed programs. And so, yeah, overall, I think that it's a lot better than it used to be, but I still think that there are a lot of dumb ideas out there about what you're supposed to be doing, and that can be unsafe.
What are your concerns?
I mean, I think I've already said that, like, I think there's too much pressure on it in general, and I think, like, that's problematic.
Are kids and parents talking about
My
it?
parents never told me what it was. I asked once, where do babies come from? And they said, maybe you'll learn that in school. And the only thing that my mother has ever said, she was like, I don't think people should have sex until they're ready to have a child. I think that, like, there are some, like, very lucky children that have, like, a great open dialogue with their parents, and that is so great for them. But I think that, like, a lot of parents, like, shy away from that or just, like, hope they're learning it at school. And that's not great, because if, like, that kid ever feels like they're in an unsafe situation, they can't talk to their parents about it, or, like, if they were miseducated at school or by their friends, like, they're never going to be able to talk about that. And I think that is bad for both, like, the kids and for, like, a family dynamic where you're not allowed to, like, talk about that sort of thing, or it's, like, just never addressed.
What do you wish adults understood about teens having sex today?
I don't know what I want them to think. I don't want my parents to think about sex.
Understandable. Although there are a few differing points made, I think we can see some strong similarities. Both teens and adults hold safe sex as a top priority and are concerned with the inattentiveness sexually active teens are showing to protection. In addition, both interviews presented discomfort with discussing these topics with their parents or kids. Hopefully these two opinions can contrast in such a way that they answer each other's questions and bridge a gap.